Hey, what is up, everyone? This is Ete with another episode of Eco Lawn Science. Today, I want to talk about Microclover. And about 2 years ago, we started seeing it in Park City. People were planting it in their lawn, and then I'd get people calling, hey, can you install Microclover? Can we still treat? Can we spray weeds with Microclover? Tell me more about it. So I've kind of had to learn on the job, but it's a really interesting concept and a plant. So I just want to share a little bit about it. In some situations, it's a great fit. For some, it may not be what they're looking for, but you may see it in the news. You may see it as the next problem solver. But the funny thing is, it's nothing new. It's been around forever. In fact, before the 50s, when these weed controls, these herbicides really got popular in lawn care, most people were targeting just dandelions, plantains, and other broadleaf weeds, but white clover was often left because it's green. It's a white clover. It's clovers, and then it has those white heads. I'm sure you've seen it. Now people consider it a weed, and they go nuts by it. But it's green. It stays green year round. It's a nitrogen fixer. It's a great ground cover. The white flowers seed, and they attract bees, which originally is why people wanted it. It got classified as a weed for many, just because the bees. You'd have your kids out in the lawn. The clover's attracting bees on the lawn. It's not. Bees and kids aren't always the best fit. Now in 2020, people want bees more than ever, and I understand that. But this is originally why it kind of became considered a weed. But before the 50s, people loved clover in their lawns. And now, like I said, now it's people just want to get rid of it. It's considered a broadleaf weed. They don't like it. Well, it is coming back with a vengeance, and this time it's called microclover. So it's a little bit of a smaller clover, but in the same family. The leaves do not get as wide as your traditional clover. It has smaller leaves and it has a lower growth habit, so it stays pretty low to the ground. And when you seed at a good rate, it mixes with most turfgrass species better than a white clover. So your traditional clover without the clumps. And so for that reason, it's coming back. Let's talk a little bit about why, because when I first started getting calls, I didn't know as much about it, and I thought, why would you want to put clover? We get rid of clover. And then I realized, wow, clover actually has some benefits. So microclover is actually a legume. And so being a legume, it can convert atmospheric nitrogen into organic nitrogen. So basically, it takes nitrogen sources that are in the air that plants can't utilize, and it can convert them into a source that actually turfgrass, your lawn, can actually use. So that's why they're called nitrogen fixers. And this process actually takes place in the root nodules by the root zone. So really fascinating, a really cool thing. One of the studies that I read from the University of Penn State, Penn State back in Pennsylvania, which is such a great little area. I've been out there quite a few times, is that they actually say that having some microclover in your lawn, so mixed in with your lawn, can reduce the need for nitrogen significantly. Like they claim 1 to 2 pounds per 1,000 square feet a year. So let me back that up. Depending on where you are in the country, in the world, will depend on the climate zone, will depend on the type of grass you have. But every grass will need a certain amount of nitrogen added as an additive to be healthy, to be successful. An example here in Utah, the USU extension says it needs about 4 to 5 pounds per 1,000 square feet a year of nitrogen. And so that they're recommending that. So if you were to go on your lawn and mark out, let's say you have a 2,000 square foot lawn in the front, just a big patch of grass, it's 2,000 square feet, which is common. That means by the course of the whole year, you need to feed that lawn, that grass, that plant, about 8 to 10 pounds of nitrogen for that whole area, for the whole year. Okay, so that's why a lot of lawn companies have programs, because you can't put it all down at one. You put 8 to 10 pounds of nitrogen at one time, you're gonna cause some trouble. You're gonna burn some stuff. And so anyway, that's why lawn programs will break it up between 4, 5, or 6 treatments, putting down 1/4 of a pound or 1/2 a pound of nitrogen per visit. But what's fascinating about this microclover and this research that they've done, it says that they can reduce that 1 to 2 pounds. So if you need, let's say your lawn needs 4 pounds for Kentucky Blue in Utah or Colorado, you can cut it in half the amount of fertilizer that you use just by adding some variety, adding some microclover into the soil. into your lawn and mix it in. It's actually pretty cool. It has a dark green color, so homeowners like it. Now, as far as how much to plant, there have been different trials. One of the ones I read by the University of Maryland, they mixed the microclover with hard fescue, chewing fescues, terp-type fescues, and bluegrass. And basically, they did about 5%, and they did a 10% of the weight microclover of the mix. And what happened was it actually dominated when it was mixed with hard or chewing fescues. So really what happened is they got mostly microclover and it didn't get a lot of turf. So they're still working on a smaller mix rate. Instead of that 5-10%, can they get away with 1-3%? When they mix that 5-10% in with Kentucky Blue or with a grass like what was it? It was more of just a fescue, not a chewing, but what was it? Tall fescue. Yeah, sorry. It seemed like the first 6 months or so, it looked like the microclover was dominating and really overpowering it. But then after the year, it actually seemed to balance out pretty good. So still some mixed results there as far as how much microclover to go in, but it seems that it does better with certain types of grass, more the blue, the tall fescues. One of the tricky things is, if you do have a weed control program, your weed controls will impact the microclover. So if you have a company that comes and they spray weeds, you need to specifically have a note on your account that says, do not spray clover. You must spot treat dandelions or whatever it is, thistle, morning glory, but do not spray the clover, because if they do get it on, now, it is a hardy plant, but if that weed control has some dicamba in it and some spreader sticker, it will take out your microclover. So you got to be very aware of that. You can still do it, and we have notes for the clients that we're doing it. We just have notes, hey, don't touch their microclover. They're trying to encourage it. So as far as diseases, they did find that same for University of Maryland did some research plots back in 2011 in the summer, and they did find that this with the hottest time of the year, it was like mid-July, there was some southern blight, so there was some disease, but not as bad as a turf grass. As far as what happens in the fall, it does. So when you get that frost, it can kind of die back, at least the top part, looking like it's dead. But the roots and the crowns, they're still alive, and so they can emerge as the weather begins to warm the next spring. As far as heat and drought tolerant, which is a massive problem here in Utah, it does okay. What they have found, the same university, the University of Maryland, what they found with that testing was basically the majority of it, once it hit the hot of the summer with with no rain, no irrigation, it was dying off as a turf would. And so, definitely some drought issues with that one. So definitely some positives and negatives like everything. Just real quick, if you wanted to if you said, hey, I like this, it sounds great, I can reduce the nitrogen, I can have more variety in my lawn, bring the bees back. What you would do is, let's say you already have some grass, whether it's a full lawn or a partial lawn with some bare spots, you could buy bags, 50-pound bags, 40-pound bags of microclover. I know there's a site called whygoodnature.com, and they sell it. They call it the micro green. And I've heard a lot of good things about that. But once you got it, you would apply 1 pound of the microgreen microclover, would cover about 600 square feet. So if you have 1,000 square feet, you're putting down about 2 pounds. So it's not too bad. And just like a normal grass seed, you would just go ahead and spread it on top and water it and keep it safe. Maybe a protective blanket, something like that to cover it. And let it just kind of fill in and take over where it needs to. If you have a new lawn, let's say you want to start a brand new lawn, they recommend mixing it with a turf grass. So probably, depending on where you are, will depend on what type of grass. But again, we're talking cool season, that tall fescue, that Kentucky Blue. So you're starting a lawn from scratch and you want to include this, you would mix it in, and then you would seed at about 10 pounds per 1,000 with your normal seed, and then you would spread your microclover separately at about 2 pounds per 1,000. So hopefully that makes sense. So you take your grass seed blend, your big bag, and you put 10 pounds. So if you have 1,000 square foot, you're going to use 10 pounds of that seed, and then separately you'll go over it. After that's out, you go over it again and put down the microclover at about 2 pounds per 1,000. So there you have it. So it's cool. A lot of great places for it. Obviously, if you have a lot of young kids and you don't want to have bees flying around the grass stinging them. I understand that. If you don't and you're interested in trying to bring in more bees, pollinators back in, and you're interested in more diversity in your lawn, and you're okay with some clover and some white flowers, then this is a cool option. It's affordable. It's not too expensive. Again, the big thing is just the neat thing is that it can reduce the nitrogen need in almost in half, it seems, from the research. And, it's a big deal. And also, less maintenance. It's going to keep your lawn green. But on the weed control, it'll be more complicated because you will have to spot treat and make sure you don't hit any of it with your weed control. So anyway, I've seen it. It looks. We're not used to it, right? Like, we're used to these perfect green lawns in America. I think once you get past that, you understand the benefits, and it actually looks pretty cool if you're okay with it. I know many people will not, and maybe at some point they will. It'll change. But either way, I get it. And cool product if you're looking for some diversity. And that's Microclover. So hope that helps. Have a good one.